I gave them $22,000 for the wedding. Then, I got a message, please come without your wife. I smiled, left the group chat, and stayed home. I didn't cause any drama at the wedding. The cake did that for me. Then I got 143 missed calls from almost every guest. Please come without your wife, that was the message. No hello, no explanation, just 5 cold words in the family group chat. Like they meant nothing, like my wife didn't matter, like I didn't either. I read it 3 times, hoping I misunderstood, but no, it was clear, please come without your wife. No punctuación. No context, just that. I put the phone down on the kitchen counter. My hands weren't shaking, I wasn't even angry, just very still. Sandra came in with her tea. You look like someone died. I didn't say anything, I just handed her the phone. She read the message quietly, then said, well, they finally said it out loud. I nodded. What are you going to do? I opened the group chat and tapped leave chat. I'm doing exactly what they asked, I said calmly, I'm not bringing you. Her eyes searched my face. You're going without me? No, I said, we're not going. She exhaled, then said, I knew it would come to this, just didn't think they'd put it in writing. Neither did I. For months, I'd been the one everyone relied on for money. Isla would cry about how expensive things were, and everyone looked at me like I should fix it. You've always been the responsible one, Mom would say. She's your sister, Dad would add, she's never asked for anything before. T'alit. So I paid, the venue, flowers, photo booth, even the cake, especially the cake, 7 layers, customizing, the kind of cake that costs more than rent. They took my money with smiles, then told me my wife wasn't welcome. Why? Because she didn't laugh at Isla's jokes? Because she didn't play the perfect daughter-in-law? Probably because she once asked Tyler, do you even like Isla, or are you just scared of her, at a dinner? Sandra didn't say anything, she just stood there, holding the phone, her jaw tight. She looked at me, really looked at me. I knew you'd pick me, she said, but it still hurts. I nodded, we'll stay home, then? But I'm still contributing to the wedding, I smiled. She raised an eyebrow. You already gave them 22 grand. I did, I said, but there's one thing I quietly changed. The wedding happened, it was perfect, Instagram ready. Isla looked great in every photo, Tyler looked miserable, my parents were beaming. Everything was perfect. Until the moment the waiter brought in the cake. That's when the calls started, 1, then 3, then 20, then 75 missed calls in just 2 hours, from Mom, Isla, Tyler, even Aunt Martha, who once called me cheap for bringing store-bought wine to Christmas. I didn't pick up, I just sat on the couch, poured myself a drink, and clinked my glass with Sandra's. Happy wedding day, Isla. I checked my banking app, $22,000, I muttered. Sandra glanced at the screen, still checking? I turned the phone to her, just making sure I paid for all this delusion. I had paid for everything, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I got, not because of the money, but because it was so easy for them to take it. It didn't start with the wedding, it started years ago, when I got a good job after college. My parents put me in charge of everything, money, fixing things, listening to problems. And Isla? She was the sensitive one, the manipulator, the one who always played the victim. You're the stable one, Mom always said. Isla's not built like you, Dad added. Isla would mess up, and I'd fix it. I paid for her car accident deductible, her rent when she lost her job, and even built her business website. Every time she failed, I was there to pick her up. Sandra saw it from day one. They don't respect you, she told me once after Isla sent me a Venmo request for just a little emergency. She's family, I said, it's not a big deal. Sandra looked at me like I was crazy. It's never a big deal until you realize you're broken alone. She was right, but she was patient. She smiled through every dinner where my mom made passive-aggressive comments about her, and when Isla made fake smile insults like, it's cute how low-key you are. Sandra never lashed out, she never gave them a reason to hate her. But they got creative. When wedding planning started, I was accidentally left out of most conversations. Isla would send messages like, we decided on the champagne fountain, or we're doing a 7-tier cake with gold leaf. And who paid for it? Me. But then, one night, I snapped. It was 3 weeks before the wedding. We were at my parents' house for dinner. Sandra and I gave Isla a gift, a hand-embroidered silk robe. Isla opened it, forced a smile, and said, thanks, I already have 2 of these, but okay, then, she muttered, at least you're good for something, I guess. Sandra heard it, I saw her freeze, but she didn't say anything. I stood up. Excuse me, I said, placing my napkin on the table. Where are you going? Mom asked. Out, I said, For air. I sat in the car for an hour that night, unable to sleep. I went over everything, all the receipts, invoices, screenshots, and then I opened the cake design file. Isla had emailed it to me, make sure this is confirmed by Friday, please no changes, I want it to be timeless. I stared at it. Then, I called the bakery and made a small change to the cake. I didn't tell Sandra at first, not until the night before the wedding when she saw me smirking. What did you do? She asked. I raised an eyebrow. Who says I did anything? You only smile like that when you're hiding fire, she said. I laughed softly and kissed her forehead. Let's just say tomorrow's dessert will be unforgettable. The ballroom glowed with warm light, making everything feel magical. Isla's dress sparkled under the chandeliers, like it was made of stars. Tyler wore his usual, flat smile, champagne popped, string music played, and everyone filmed everything on their phones. It was perfect, too perfect. The MC's voice echoed, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, Isla and Tyler's wedding cake. The crowd cheered, phones went up, and everyone leaned in. Isla's face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. The lights dimmed, a romantic song played. Fog filled the room as two servers in tuxedos wheeled out a huge, three-tiered cake, gold accents, ivory roses, and the initials L and T in sugar pearls. People gasped, and applause followed. Tyler even seemed impressed. Isla smiled brightly. The cake was placed on stage, and spotlights hit it. The MC smiled. Let's hear it for this masterpiece. Isla took Tyler's hand, ready to cut the cake, but then, crack, the middle tier split. Boom, the top layer fell, and then, pop, out of the cake jumped a clown. But not just any clown, a clown in a wedding dress, complete with a veil, red nose, and white gloves, a sign on her chest read, Miss Perfect. The room went silent. Then, boing, two plastic yellow chickens flew out of the cake, flapping through the air. The clown stood up, arms wide, and bowed deeply, scattering white feathers from a bouquet. The bouquet had a pink ribbon that read, Zilla Special. Isla stood frozen, her mouth hanging open. The clown grabbed a mic, of course, and spoke in the sweetest voice. Special delivery for the bride. The show must go on. Laughter erupted. Some guests screamed, others clapped, thinking it was a joke. Someone yelled, I asked for this part. Isla still didn't move. Tyler stepped back. What is this? He asked. My mom marched toward the clown. Get out of here, this is a wedding, not a circus. The clown waved cheerfully. Oh, honey, this is the circus, you're just late to the tent. Then she turned to Isla, bowed again, and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, you ordered perfection, we brought the reflection. Isla broke down, she screamed. Get her out of here, this isn't funny, who did this? But the clown had already started moonwalking toward the exit. As she reached the back, she winked at the nearest phone camera and said, Bye, Isla, you're the star now. Then she vanished into the fog. The video quickly went viral with the hashtag #clowncake, trending by midnight. I didn't even need to turn on the news. Sandra showed me the video from the guests' live stream. She almost choked on her wine when the chickens flew. She fell off the couch, laughing. When the feathers hit the ceiling, she wiped away a tear and whispered, You're an absolute artist. I raised my glass to the screen. Happy wedding day, Isla. The next day was quiet, too quiet. I woke up to the smell of coffee and sunlight on my face, thinking it was just a regular Sunday. Then I checked my phone. 143 missed calls, group chats with names like This Isn't Funny, You Went Too Far, and You're Dead to Us, voicemails from Mom, Isla, and relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, and then there were the texts. How could you do this to your own sister? That cruel prank ruined everything. You humiliated the whole family. Mom's crying, Isla's not eating, hope you're happy now, clown boy. I scrolled through the messages, sipping my coffee. Sandra walked in, still groggy in her robe. Anything fun this morning? I handed her my phone. She read a few texts, then handed it back. Wow, she said, you really broke them. That afternoon, there was a knock on the door, not gentle, not polite, aggressive. I opened it to find my mom, wearing sunglasses, looking like a celebrity avoiding paparazzi. Behind her was my dad, who looked like he hadn't slept. I stayed quiet. We need to talk, Mom snapped, walking in. Dad sighed like he regretted this. Sandra stayed in the kitchen, she knew better than to get involved. Mom stood in the living room and hissed, You ruined your sister's wedding. Funny, I thought she ruined my marriage first, I said calmly. Don't be dramatic, she scoffed, it was just one message. Just one message that said, Don't bring your wife. Silence. You humiliated her in front of 200 people. There was a clown, she shot back. Yes, I said, there was. She hasn't left her room in 24 hours, Dad added. She might be traumatized, Mom said. There are videos everywhere. Oh, I've seen them, I said. People seem to love the chicken launch. Mom's eyes narrowed. You think this is funny? I think it's poetic. She lost it. You're a bitter, resentful little boy who can't stand seeing his sister happy. I stood up. And you're a mother who taught her daughter that love means control, and money means silence. Dad stepped forward. Enough, he said. No, I said, we're just getting started. They tried to interrupt, but I kept going. All my life, I've paid quietly because that's what you taught me to do, shut up and be useful. I watched Isla tear down everything I cared about, and you did nothing, you just smiled and called it family. My voice was steady, cold. Now it's my turn to smile. Mom looked ready to scream. Instead, she turned and stormed out. You're no longer part of this family, she said. Dad hesitated, then looked at me. I didn't know about the message, he said quietly. But you didn't stop it either, I replied. He nodded and followed her out. The door slammed. Silence again. By Monday, the wedding clown video had 2.3 million views on TikTok. By Tuesday, there were remixes. By Wednesday, BuzzFeed ran a headline, Bride Gets Clowned at Own Wedding. Literally, Isla disabled all her accounts. Tyler moved out of the honeymoon suite early. I didn't care. I was finally sleeping again. Then came the twist on Friday. I was running errands when Sandra called me. Babe, she said, you need to come home now. I rushed back. She was in the kitchen, holding an envelope. This came hand-delivered, no return address. I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, printed in bold. You thought you were the only one she used. Attached to it was a USB drive. I plugged it into my laptop. It had one folder. Inside, screenshots, bank transfers, text messages, and audio recordings, everything between Isla and our cousin David. I wasn't the only one she used. Isla had planned 2 weddings, one with Tyler, the public one, and another with David, the secret one. He'd been funding her second life for months. Their last conversation, the night before the wedding. Isla, don't worry, baby, this is just for show. I need that ring for the prenup. Once I have that, it's over. Isla, you think I'd ever love someone like Tyler? I sat back. Sandra looked at me and then the screen. Do we send this to Tyler? I smiled. No, I said, we deliver it with a bow. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was anxious, but because I had never felt so awake. The words echoed in my mind. You thought you were the only one she used. Isla, of course, it was Isla. She didn't just take my money, she took his. David, our cousin, another fool with a big bank account and a savior complex. The messages were clear. She played him for months, telling him the wedding with Tyler was just for show. She married Tyler, but she loved his money, and she ruined things with David. The sun began to rise. I woke up, made coffee, and toasted a bagel. Sandra came down in a big t-shirt and gave me a sleepy kiss on the cheek. You look way too calm, she said. I feel great. You're glowing like a villain. I handed her a stack of printed papers. She read a few pages, then looked up, wide-eyed. Oh my God, we're not mailing this. I said, we're delivering it. Tyler wasn't at his apartment. My cousin Brian had seen him at the gym. We drove to the gym and found him hitting a heavy bag, looking like he was taking out years of frustration. I called his name. He turned, sweat pouring down his face, eyes red. When he saw us, his whole body froze. He walked toward us slowly, like he was about to face something bad. If you're here to gloat, he said, get in line. I didn't say anything. I just handed him the red folder. He frowned and opened it. At first, his eyes moved quickly over the pages, then they stopped. His face changed as he read. When he got to the photo of Isla in David's apartment, holding a wine glass, his hands started to shake. She told me she needed a stable future, he said. No, I replied, she needed a funding plan. He sat down on a bench, buried his face in his hands. She said I was the first man she really trusted. I sat next to him. She says that to whoever is paying her. He didn't cry, but I could tell he wanted to. Instead, he whispered, she's a black hole. She takes good things and spits out lies. I nodded. She almost got all of us. He looked at me and said something unexpected. Thank you. We shook hands, and I left. That night, I turned off my phone. Sandra and I made pasta and opened a bottle of wine. We laughed and let the world burn around us. By morning, the clown cake video had over 4 million views. People were making memes and remixes. Someone even turned the clown's line, "You ordered perfection." We brought the reflection into a song. It was trending on Spotify. Isla disappeared from social media. David deleted his account. But the internet never forgets. Screenshots, hashtags, reaction videos. She became a cautionary tale. A few days later, my parents called. I didn't answer. Then came an email. Whatever was between you and Isla, you took it too far. You've disgraced this family. I replied with one sentence. I didn't disgrace this family, I documented it. Blocked. Done. A week later, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a crumpled thank you card in Isla's handwriting. The words looked like they had been torn out of her soul. You were always better than me, that's why I hated you. You never wanted anything from anyone, you just wanted to be left alone, and we couldn't even give you that. You won, I hope it was worth it. I read it twice. Sandra saw me holding it. Is it an apology? She asked. No, I said, it's a confession, but not the kind that fixes anything. I didn't respond. I framed it and hung it in my office, not out of pride, but as a reminder, never again. Now, 2 months later, Sandra and I are flying to Portugal next week for our first real vacation. No obligations, no fake invites, no begging family members. I changed my number, deleted the family chat, started therapy, and something strange happened. Distant relatives and old friends started messaging me privately. I wish I had the guts to do what you did. You were right to walk away. That clown cake was iconic. It became more than a moment, it became a line in the sand. No more pretending, no more funding dysfunction, no more carrying people who spit in your face when your wallet runs dry. Every Friday now, Sandra and I raise a glass, she says, to Miss Perfect, and I add, long may she be off the throne.